Just me and you left, bro.
Yeah, we'll race on our own, I reckon.
Don't know what's going on.
No idea.
I don't know.
I have no idea. Oh, I've gone up to bloody purple.
No, that's because everyone's left.
Hey?
Because everyone's left.
Yeah, I reckon they got a new invite.
And I got one. I think there's a few in here.
Oh yeah, it's fucking, they do it different in
Why is Matt Himovic in there?
He's commentating. His missus.
Is he really?
You should heard his missus, Jesus Christ.
Have you got an invite?
Nah.
I'll send you one.
Sorry, yeah, I just got one.
Yeah, I just sent you one.
God, look at that, near a full grip, boy.
I can't believe Matt's commentating.
God, you should have heard his missus, Jesus. No, you're fucking not.
Right, I'm fucking commentating now. You're a bellend, Gary. It is Gary's fault. I'm going to have to leave this party. I'll speak to you when I'm back, so I'm going to have to do my own party for it. In a bit. You what, Beth? Should we join Swim Finster's party? Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen. Things have been a bit different during the little break we've had, but we're back now. We've got a 14 car grid. As you can see, Little Leach and Gary 131 are in this one. They're not scoring points. They're here just for a bit of practice or whatever, not quite sure. But I'm going to take you through the Tier 1 table right now. Let's get it up for you. It is the only G who leads the way at the moment. On 143 points, he's took 2 wins, 1 in the sprint, 4 wins, sorry, both in the sprint and feature races. He's in front, followed by Motoring Morgan. Nathan Rutter sits third with BTT Arga in fourth. Melted Dazza is fifth. Shoulders in sixth. Emo Guy in seventh with Charlie Goff eighth. DJ Phil Green sits ninth with Fury in 10th. Smoky Devil on 20 points in 11th with Nick the Villa on 16 points. So for the guys then, they've got to catch the only G. He is the man who's setting the pace. As you can see him now coming out the pit lane. He is the man setting the pace, and he is the man who is really lighting up this championship. 4 wins in a row. Can he make it race 5 and 6 win tonight? He's really going to have to be on it. He's really going to have to concentrate around Laguna Seca in the night here at the qualifying in the desert. Absolutely brilliant track. If you've just been with us for the Tier 2 race, that ended with Gary Leach winning from Little Leach with Rotti taking P3 after an interesting pit stop race with the light rain coming on. So strategy played its part as and when to pit. But here now in this dry qualifying session, who's the one who's going to take pole? It's a 15-minute qualification. So let's see what will happen. As you see, the only G coming through the corkscrew is about to come around the final corner. Smoky Devil and Andy currently not out of the pits. In fact, Andy's just leaving the pits now. Smoky Devil still in there. We'll stay on the only G and let's see. First time's gone in from Fury, a 1:53. That isn't a representative lap time. We saw earlier we was in the 1:30s. So what can the only G do? Andy will pretty much be the first car coming up to him, who is only just come out of the pits. He's on his out lap. You see they're still coming out of the pit lane. A very tight, narrow pit exit here as you sort of come out just after turn 1. And the only G really looking quick through here. Not really seeing any mistakes on his out lap. Getting that Clio sliding into the corners and really chucking it through them as well. Nice bit of curb, just clips the curb on the left hand side. Comes across to the right, there's Andy in front. See 2 lap times coming. Gary's gone into the 1:39.4s and who's that just done a 1:45? That is Melted Dazza has done a 1:45. 1:37 dead at the moment. Here's the pole time set as Andy just on the grass. Not going out of the only G's way here. He is now as he heads into the corkscrew. Got a bit of curb on entry, just over the left hander, now the right hander. Now sets himself up for the long left. As we head on board the bonnet camera, let's just look at him through the right hander here. Really chucking it in, you see that back end sliding out, you can see the car camera really sliding now into the final corner. What's it going to be, his lap time? Round he goes and over the start line. We've seen other lap times coming now. 1:35.4 is the quickest. The only G does a 1:35.5, so he's currently a 10th off of Twanbury Hill in this clear race, but ahead of Shoulders. Fury sits P4 at the moment with John Boy in 5th. Gary currently sitting 6th. Gary did the fastest lap of Tier 2, which is only a 1:36.2, so already 2 times quicker than that. DJ Phil has gone 8th, with Melted Dazza currently sitting in 9th, but he's coming around to the final corner now, so let's see if he can improve on his time in it. Currently 10 seconds off the pace, needs to find 5 seconds just to gain on DJ Phil. What's his time going to be as he crosses the line now? He goes up into P4, so puts Little Leach, who was 4th, down a place. Fury's in the pits, so is Nathan Rutter. He's just leaving the pits now. Nick the Villa coming through the corkscrew. What can he do? Not set a time as of yet. Round the long left-hander, what sort of time can he do as Emo Guy goes into P10 at the moment? Nick the Villa towards the final corner, so running the same blue livery as we've seen from Melted. Crosses the line now and he's going to set a 1:40.1, so it's not quick at the moment. Smoky Devil's coming out of the pits. Andy really sideways coming through the second to last corner. Must have been getting some tips off the Tier 2 guys, watching them chuck it through there, and he breaks into the final corner now and gets the power back down in the clear. Fastest lap from the only G, he's done a 1:35.1, so really quick lap there, and Andy goes into second with a 1:36.7. 4 times now in the 1:36s. Well, 2 in the 1:36s, should I say, 2 in the 1:35. Smoky Devil coming out the pits hasn't set a time, and Nathan Rutter hasn't neither. We pick him up coming into the corkscrew, so let's stay on board him, see if he can set a lap time. Shoulders and Twombly Hill has a lap time invalid, so in fact Nathan Rutter looks like he's backed out of this one. Could only be a sort of installation lap. Shoulders finds himself in the pits on P4. Here's John Boy, he's got a bit of traffic in front. Can he improve on his P6? Lings one into the corner there. Car in front pulls over, tries not to get in his way, but may do now mid-corner. Really does look how John Boy catches up to the back of him mid-corner, so does he improve on his 137 flat? No improvement from John Boy. Where's Gary on track? He's just gone around turn 1. What about Twombly Hill? He's coming up to the corkscrew now. Nick the Villa has had a lap time invalid. So Twombly Hill needs to find 0.2 of a second here if he's going to put it on pole position, or provisional pole at the moment. Can Twombly Hill find the pace that he needs? Bit wriggly through there, and one's a bit wide on exit of corner. As we see Gary and Smoky Devil still in the pits. That's gone back in the pits. Twombly Hill crosses a line. No improvement from him. Pick Andy up, coming down in towards T1. Where's the only G? He's also coming around turn 1. Shoulders, who sits P4 at the moment, he's off as he comes up towards the corkscrew. Melted Dazza coming around towards the end of his lap. Are we going to see any improvement from him? Who's that? Little Leach has just gone into P3 with a 136.6. A good lap time from the tier 2 man who's filling in tonight. As Melted Dazza comes across the line and does improve, and it's an improvement good enough to take him within a second of the only G and put him 9 tenths behind as he goes straight back into the pits. So what about John Boy now? He's coming down towards the last corner to complete his next lap. What are we going to get as he crosses the line here? No improvement from John Boy. Nathan Rutter sits P8. Gary's in the pits at P9 at minute. Fury stays 10th. Emo Guy's not improved on his time there. Nick the Villa coming around to finish another lap. Is there going to be any improvement from Nick the Villa as he comes down the start line now? It's currently 5 seconds off the pace. No improvement there. What about DJ Phil? Where's he? He's just coming around the final corner. Is DJ Phil? And is he going to improve here? No improvement from him, and the only G he finds in even more time. He's found half a second, a 134.5. The only G finds there then. Absolutely quality lap time there from him. 8 tenths quicker now at Twombly Hill. Melted Dazza, he's not long finished his lap. Little Leach is coming towards the end of his time, so let's see if he can improve. Oh no, he's not going to improve doing the last corner like that, getting that Clio Art of all sorts of shapes. 5 seconds down. Andy then. He's gone into the pits. What about Shoulders? He's coming up towards the corkscrew now. He's only 1,000th up on his time, so that's not enough to even take 5th place. Twombly Hill's also in the pits, so is Gary, 131. But what can Shoulders do? As Nathan Rutter's just put one into P3, so good time from him as we're back on with Shoulders. Let's see if Shoulders can do it. Fury has a lap time invalid for track limits. Saw him up by 1,000th of a second with Shoulders. Is he up anymore? Has he found any more time to try and improve his starting position at the moment? Nope, no time found there. What about John Boy? He crosses the line, no time found. Fury's just started lap, so is Emo Guy. Nick the Villa's just gone up into P9, so a good lap from Nick the Villa. There's DJ Phil again, he's coming around to finish his time. Any improvement from DJ Phil Green? No, not that time. Smoky Devil, 30 seconds off the pace. He hopefully will start to pick up a bit more pace here soon enough. Coming up to the last corner. Let's see the Little Leach or Andy, I do believe, behind him. Smoky Devil's going to cross the line, and has he made up any more time at the minute? The only man not in the 1 minute mark. And he does, he finds 20 seconds to a 145. Still 10 seconds off the pace. Little Leach found 0.2 of a second. Keeps in P5 still at the moment. Here comes Andy. Round turn 4. So who's in the pits? Nathan Rutter and still Gary 131 are in the pit lane. Quadbury Hill's coming through the corkscrew, as is Melted Dazzle. Little Leach pretty much just starting his lap. Andy coming up towards the corkscrew. Shoulders is about to finish a lap. See if Shoulders can improve anyway. Shoulders goes off second quicker, and that puts him up into P5. What about John Boy? No improvement from John Boy. Nick the Villa, no improvement from him, as I think Gary Leach is coming out the pits. Yes, he is. Fury didn't do anything, neither did Emo Guy. DJ Phil's coming towards the end of his lap. Everybody seems to be at one part of the track at the moment. There's only 2 cars on the back end of the track, and I do believe that's Little Leach, and I can't remember who the other one is. Any improvement for DJ Phil this time around? There is 0.05 of a second, not enough to move him off of P13. So it is Smoky Devil and Little Leach, sort of on their own little laps, coming towards the end of it now. Little Leach looks like he had the run on Smoky Devil there, and goes up the inside into the final corner. So Little Leach will set his lap before the Smoky Devil. The only G's in the pits. Any improvement for Little Leach? No improvement there, and Smoky Devil improves by 2 seconds but stays currently P14. So the only G and Nathan Rutter in the pits. Not where they're wanting to be really at the moment. Fury will be the next man to set a lap time. So let's see what Fury can do. Coming around, he'll get one more lap in. Nathan Rutter and the only G won't get an extra lap, so only G feels like he's done enough. Shoulders also won't get another lap in. He's decided to put it into the pits, and Fury has a lap time invalid. He's pitted, he's backed out of that, as he knows he won't improve any. Here comes Melted Dazzle, who's just in front of him on track. John Boy's about to set his time. Any improvement from John Boy? Yeah, he goes P5. So a good little lap there from John Boy. Nick the Villa, he improves by a 10th, but no improvement, but no position improvement. Melted Dazzle, he gets 0.5 improvement. Not enough though. What about Andy? Down in P8 at the moment. Can he find any more time to get himself up the order? No, nothing there. Nick the Villa, he still sits P9. Gary may only get one more flying lap and he sits 10th. DJ Phil's going to cross the line and improves by 1.2 seconds, but must have had a lap time invalid somewhere, because it's not changed on my screen. Emo Guy in the pits, Fury in the pits. Little Leach, he's done, so he's Shoulders. Nathan Rutter and the only G as well, they're also in the pits. Who's that coming around the final part of the track? Is that Smoky Devil? It is a Smoky Devil, and won't get another lap in, so that's him done, and doesn't improve. So we'll stay on the back row of the grid. So where's the first car? Who is it? It's John Boy that is going to finish us off here. See if he can make an improvement on his P5. Just needs a 10th. A 10th or 2 actually, and it could put him up into P3. As he crosses the line now, and is there any improvement from him? No, no improvement. Nick the Villa, he doesn't improve neither. DJ Phil still at the back of his lap. Quadbury Hill, he's about to finish his. Any improvement there? No, he's gone into the pits. What about Andy? Can he find any more time to get up from P8? No, nothing from Andy. So DJ Phil then, the last man to set a time, needs to find about 0.5 second to get in front of Emo Guy. And doesn't. So that's your qualifying session over there then. And it's going to be the only G who takes pole position, 0.8 of a second quicker than Quadbury Hill. Nathan Rutter in 3rd. Melted Dazzle 4th with John Boy 5th. Shoulders in 6th. Little Leach from Tier 2 up in P7. Andy in 8th with Nick the Villa 9th. Gary 131 from Tier 2 in 10th. Fury 11th. Emo Guy 12th. DJ Phil 13th. And Smoky Devil 14th place. So just wait for the drivers to ready up and we'll be underway here at the Laguna Seca racetrack. Where can the only G take 5 wins out of 5? Just await the drivers here, and then we can be underway. So it looks like we're all set and ready to go then for this sprint race. 20 minutes remaining here of the session. And it's go for the sprint race in Tier 1. And the only G gets off the line really well. Twombray Hill tucks in second place at the moment. Mtcc has managed to get himself up into third. The lights beaming at Laguna Seca. He's side by side currently with Nathan Rutter, who looks to keep the place. John Boy's going to try and look up the inside of Mtcc. Looks like he's going to gain a place there. Will be on the outside now. The only G got away really well though. Mtcc still now battling, as that's with Little Leach from Tier 2. Side by side they go, and Little Leach trying to hold one round the outside then. Good start from him. And Mtcc has had a poor lap one, and Little Leach round the outside. In fact, Mtcc now on he's got to be on his toes because the shoulders is coming. And he's going to slide up the inside there as Andy slides up the inside past Gary, and looks like he's got the run on the inside of Mtcc. So he's just going backwards on lap one here. Not the start he'd have wanted at all. And you just see him dropping down the order. This is not what he'd have wanted on lap one after qualifying so well. Andy didn't manage to get past, but he's going to try and look here as we come into the corkscrew. But brave to make a move there as Fury close on the back of Gary. You see just in the background Gary 131 trying to chase down Andy at the same time. But Andy's got to find a way past Mtcc. As up front, not sure what's happened to the only G. In fact, the only G was off and has dropped down into P6. In fact, that's Andy who's past Mtcc. We come off screen because we've seen the only G lose the lead. Andy got past Mtcc and is now side by side with the only G. Is Gary up the inside of Mtcc. Andy's through, and look at this little battle in the background between these guys. We've seen the only G and Andy battling at the weekend in the touring cars, and now doing it in the Clios as well. So Gary's past Mtcc. He's gone from third or fourth on the grid all the way down to 9th place on lap one. We got Nick and Fury, as Fury sends one up the inside of Nick and gets the job done with ease. Good little move that from Fury. Emo guy watching on in the background, but back forward we see the only G retaking his position from Andy as Little Leach has picked up a time penalty so far. We see that the only G now making his progress through the order and passes Andy with ease, but Andy not giving up on the fight here at all. Andy goes one way. The only G tries to block him off and does so with ease at the moment. Twombray Hill then leads from Nathan Rutter. John Boy up to third with Little Leach fourth. Shoulders in fifth, who looks like he's going to try and attack Little Leach as they head up towards the corkscrew part of the track now. In fact, Shoulders up the inside of Little Leach at the corkscrew. Andy tried to make the move on the only G, but Gary looks like he's trying to do it on Andy. The only G running very wide there, and Gary trying to get that move done. He looks like he's going to try and cut back now. Can he set Andy up for the right-hander? Well defended from Andy, and Little Leach is wide. That's allowed the only G up another place. Melted Dazzler still ahead of Fury, and he wants to piece this battle, and Gary up the inside of Andy and gets that move done. Fury on the back of Melted Dazzler as well. In fact, Fury, is that Nick trying to make the move? Yeah, Nick the Villa trying to make a move back on Fury. We saw this last time round. Fury did him at turn 1 on the brakes. Got Emo Guy just in the back of this little scrap, and Nick the Villa's done it before the braking zone. Can Fury get the cutback? No, he can't. So the only G now back in 5th. In fact, Fury's tapped the back of him, and Emo Guy looks like he'll get through. Does as well. So a little tap of the back of Nick the Villa from Fury, and he's lost a place there because of that. But all this train behind the only G at the moment, who's pulling away from it, it's being held up by Little Leach, really. The only G gaining on shoulders. We see out front Twombly Hill and Nathan Rutter. 7 tenths between the two, and they've got a good 4-second gap back to John Boy, who finds himself 2 seconds ahead of Shoulders, who's under pressure now from the only G. We've got a left-hand corner here coming up as we head uphill now towards the corkscrew, and the only G, look at the speed he's got around the outside compared to Shoulders. It's about who's better on the brakes coming into the corkscrew, and Shoulders looks like he is at the moment. Only G may give him a bit of respect being on the outside line, but a good little bit of defensive driving from Shoulders, and he keeps P4 at the moment. Little Leach is 6th. Gary's just dropped off the back ever so slightly, and look at Andy. Nick the Villa up the inside of Andy, and Andy's down to P9. Not sure what's happened to Melted Dazzler, but he finds himself last and on the back of DJ Phil at the moment. Oh, that's someone else who sounds a bit slow, is it? Smoky Devil, yeah, sounded a bit slow. These guys catching up to the back of him. Fury on the back of Emo Guy. Andy trying to read past Nick, who looks like he's going to try and sneak one up the inside of Gary. 1-3-1 into turn 1. But Gary wise enough to close the door there. Can Nick the Villa just sneak it up the inside slightly? Gary looked like he was a bit better on the brakes, and Nick the Villa runs a bit wide and allows Andy to have a little look, little peek. Emo Guy very wide in the background, and that's allowed Fury through with ease then. Melted Dazzler looks like he's still struggling to pass DJ Phil at the moment. The only G trying to send one up the inside of Shoulders, and he's got the run on him. Little Leach and Andy have picked themselves up a time penalty. The only G side by side coming uphill. They've got a left-hander before the corkscrew, and he can't get the move done. Shoulders just has enough on him. Now does he pull out and look to the inside? He's got the car set and positioned nicely for the corkscrew. Can the only G just keep it slightly up the inside? I think Shoulders has come across and done enough, but is it going to be a battle on the brakes? No. Shoulders slightly locking up, and the only G has to concede the position, or has to stop trying attacking, because it's a dangerous place to overtake there. Don't want to find yourself being under too much pressure into that, or attacking too much. You could lose a lot of time through the corkscrew. Leaders, John Boy's caught them, in all fairness. Gap's down to 2.5 seconds now. It was 4 earlier, and Shoulders and the only G are on the back of John Boy. Little Leach trying to stay with them front cars as well. He's got Gary 1-3-1 a second and a half behind, with Andy just behind Gary then. Nick the Villa P9 with Fury in P10. Emo Guys in P11, just ahead of Smoky Devil. Melted Dazzler's managed to pass DJ Phil for 13th place, so DJ Phil bringing up the rear now. But the gap at the front is down to 0.2 of a second. So Nathan Rutter really putting pressure on Twombly Hill, who's really drove a good race so far the first 5 laps. We're down just under 13 minutes remaining in this race. And we've really got a fantastic little scrap here. So duck round the left-hander, uphill we go towards the corkscrew. Does Nathan Rutter think of setting him up here for the left-hander after this? Can't get close enough really here. See just behind that. Shoulders still in front of the only G, but they are catching John Boy, and Gary and Andy are catching Little Leach, and Andy's catching the back of Gary. So battles up and down this tier 1 grid at the moment, but the gap out front still 0.3 of a second. as they cross the line, start the 6th lap of the race. There's just under 12 minutes remaining here, and it's Twombray Hill from Nathan Rutter, who really is trying to put the pressure on Nathan. Can't seem to get anything done at the moment. Shoulders still managing to hold off G. G just can't seem to make a move on Shoulders. Been stuck behind him now for a couple of laps. Maybe a couple of laps too long here. I'd say the leaders are pulling away, but they're really not. They're only 3 seconds up the road from 4th and 5th, and 2.5 up the road from John Boy. But look at Nathan Rutter, look at the run he's got out the left-hander. Twombray Hill having to go defensive here, and Nathan tries to cut back up the inside, but just taps the back of Twombray Hill. Nobody lost any time there, but a bit closer to Twombray than I think he thought at first thought. And has just lost a couple of tenths after that tap. Further back, John Boy, Shoulders, the only G for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Really closest battle of these 3 cars. Is that the only G making a move on Shoulders? He's looking to send one up the inside into the final corner, and does so. They just touch each other slightly, but the only G's through, and I think he's got that good a run that he could have a nose up the inside of John Boy here to finally get on the podium, but he hasn't. Shoulders has a good slipstream from John Boy. G though, up the inside of John Boy. John Boy a bit slow coming around over the start line, and the only G's managed to keep it up the inside. Can Shoulders follow him through? It looks like he's trying to. Might not now, as the next corner's a right-hander, but only G, 2 places there in 1 corner and straight, can now set after the leaders. Further back, Little Leach and Andy, they've dropped down to 11th for 10th. Not sure what's happened between them two. Nick the Villa's picked himself up a time penalty. Gary now running in P6. Fury just a few seconds behind Gary, has Nick the Villa all over the back of him. Like I say though, Nick the Villa with a time penalty at the moment. So on a pass, Fury, and try and pull away to gain the time penalty advantage. And Fury wide on exit to the corner, and Nick the Villa can slip through. Emo guys running up in P9 now, after Andy and Little Leach's problems. Not sure if they touched or what, but Andy gaining on the back of Emo guy you see there. Here's Little Leach, he's just ahead of Melted Dazzer, who's past Smoky Devil. DJ Phil running in the back, he's 8 seconds off of Smoky Devil. Let's see if DJ Phil can gain up to the back of him any quicker. Gap out front though is down to a 10th, and Nathan Rutter is really trying to put the pressure on as we come to the final corner here. Can he send one, or can he set him up, get a good run out the final corner? He'll have a good long slipstream down into turn 1. Round they both come. Gap now just 0.4 of a second as they come on the exit. They've got the only G really started to chase them down now. Over the start line they go. The gap between them and the only G is 2.2 seconds, and Nathan Rutter was close into the final corner, but didn't seem to really get much of effect out of the slipstream. And Twombray Hill looked like he ran a bit wide there, or a bit deep, as Nathan Rutter really close up to the back, but still cannot get a move done. Twombray Hill driving fantastically defensively well here tonight. Nathan Rutter can't do anything to get past him. And this might frustrate him when he sees who's in his mirror in a minute. The only G, John Boy, still ahead of Shoulders. Shoulders hasn't managed to get through. Apologies. Excuse me. Nathan Rutter then, uphill we go. The lights are off on the only G's car. Bit of a flash there from him around the left-hander. Back uphill we go again towards the corkscrew. Nathan Rutter still cannot find a way to get past Twombray Hill here. Clearly the quicker car, but just cannot pass him. Really on his bumper as they come through the corkscrew. They've got the only G within a second, just over a second of them now, so really pushing his G. 1:34.5 he set. That's a fantastic lap time, that is. And Nathan's just dropped off the back here as we see a bit of rain falling now, so it'll be interesting to see who's going to pit and when for the wet tyres. We saw in the tier 2 race with oh, that's G who's got up the inside. I think Nathan tapped the back of Twombray Hill, and G's managed to get the run on him. I was going to say, we saw in the first race with NJ pitting twice, ended up leaving the session because it's still on slicks. It was too hard to manage. And Nathan Rutter then tapped that back of Twombly Hill into the final corner, and G's got the run on him, and Twombly's gone deep again and cuts in front to Nathan Rutter for P2, but he's managed to also block G. Ran deep and still managed to keep the position further back. That's John Boy and Shoulders. They're side by side coming through 1 and 2. Rain starting to fall. We see Nick the Villa in the pits, Little Leach in the pits, and Gary in the pits. So 3 cars choosing to pit early on, but Twombly Hill has the only G, and Nathan right on his tail now. And we're 3 for the lead. In fact, Nathan Rutter's going to have a look up the inside of G. And G taps the back of Twombly Hill, and Twombly Hill loses the rear and manages to keep it, but blocks Nathan Rutter in the process. G still sits P2 at the moment. All going off between the 3 leaders here. John Boy in front of Shoulders. Still that battle commences further back. And Twombly Hill wide. It is the rain affecting him, but he's lost out to G now. And Nathan Rutter looks like he's got the run coming up towards the corkscrew. Better on the brakes. Who's better on the brakes? It's Twombly, but he's a bit slidey under the braking and cannot get the power down as quick as he'd like. That Clio's rear end all over the place. Little Leach just leaving the pits now as the leaders are coming around to the final corner. So then, when do the leaders decide to put the wet tyres on? See Twombly Hill, the rear end stepping out massively. Bit more of a gap between these 3 now. And they're all staying out. They all know they need to stay out, because if one of these guys makes a mistake, it's easy to pick up a place. 5.5 minutes remain. We look back to John Boy. He's also staying out. So is Shoulders. Fury's got Andy on his tail. This for P6. So Andy making a bit of a comeback here. Fury's going to pit, and Andy's going to stay out. So Andy will be given P6, and as Fury dives into the pit lane. Emo guy as well, he's also going to pit. Remember, mandatory pit stops aren't on here, but these guys clearly struggling on them slick tyres. What about Melted Dazza? He fancies a pit stop as well. Smoky Devil. Now he's going to stay out. He's going to risk another lap on the dry tyres. DJ Phil will as well. We know Gary then, the first runner on the wet tyres. Where's Fury? Just getting the rear tyres changed now. So Gary should pass Fury then. So we'll see what sort of lap times Gary's setting compared to the leaders. And G must have had a slowdown penalty as Twombly Hill goes past. Unless G had gone wide. Is this wet weather now causing too much of an issue? Time for Twombly Hill last lap was 1:48. Time for the only G was 1:46. Don't look at Gary's because he made a pit stop. 2 seconds off their pace though. And G back in the lead. He's currently 10 seconds down on his time. And look at Twombly Hill trying to go around the outside at the first part of the corkscrew. Can't make the move done, just can't find the grip. You see Nathan Rutter there cutting the second part of it, really struggling for grip. Nothing, they just can't get the power down out the corners. Melted Dazza then currently sitting last. Gary up to P8, the first of the wet tired runners. G and Twombly staying out. Twombly round the outside of G and just seems so more confident in the wet. And a bit of a touch there from G on Twombly, but nothing comes of it. Nathan Rutter sits third then. John Boy, he looks like he's staying out in P4. Shoulders comes round in P5 at the minute. What's he going to do? Is he going to dive in? No, he's going to stay out and risk it. 3 minutes 17 left. Andy, bit wide there. What's he going to? He's going to stay out as well. So Gary has passed Smoky Devil and DJ Phil then on the wet tyres. 5 seconds down on his personal best lap. But on them wet tyres could pick up a good place here. He's got time to still gain on Andy. Currently 22 seconds behind him, but we saw in the tier 2 race earlier, the wet tyre, the dry tyres towards the end of the race, he seemed to really struggle on. Twombly Hill is though managing to do it very well. He's pulling a bit of a gap out on G here. As they head up towards the corkscrew, rain still falling. Twombly Hill has managed to gain a second over the only G. Car coming up to the corkscrew, so nearly a lap down is Melted Dazza. No one pitted this time round, we noticed. And Gary now only 19 seconds off of Andy. So managing to close that gap was 23 minutes. Got Twombly Hill all sideways, trying to get the power down after the first part of the corkscrew and just cannot get that foot down. Cannot touch the accelerator here or the back end's going to step out. And you hear him on and off the throttle all the time. Nathan Rutter's been overtaken by John Boy, so clearly Nathan's struggling on his dry tyres. Coming up to Mtcc, who's in the pits again, in fact, so maybe still on the slicks, and that's why he's struggling so much. But Twombly Hill and the Only G are going to stay out. They're going to battle it out as we head down now for the final lap of this race. It's Twombly from G, with John Boy now running on in third place. Nathan Rutter's down in fourth. Shoulders is currently P5, although Andy looks to go round the outside and does with ease, but runs wide on the exit of the corner. There's no point pitting now for the wet tyres, side by side. As Andy was wide, he has the time penalty as well, so he's got to make sure that he's far enough in front to score points, or to pull away from the other guy to keep his position. Shoulders really sliding through that final corner. Gary sits 13 seconds behind Andy with 1 lap left. That is potentially doable. How much quicker is Gary than Andy last time round? Andy's done a 1:55.6. What's Gary going to do? Gary does a 1:44.4. Andy passes Shoulders now. Shoulders looking to fight back a little bit, but Gary's so much quicker. 11 seconds quicker. Is it going to be enough? He may get Shoulders, who's struggling, but I don't think he'll get Andy. Gap out front though. Twombly Hill looks like he's done enough to fend off the Only G, who in fact must have made a mistake. His time is dropping off the back of Twombly, so he must have ran wide somewhere. But Twombly Hill looks like he's going to break the Only G's good run. 4 wins out of 4 for G, and it's not going to be a 5th. I don't want to speak too soon though, because Twombly still has a couple of corners left to go. But he looks like he's got the job done. It's been a fantastic race for Twombly Hill. Held off Nathan Rutter in the early part of the race and had a good battle between him and G and Nathan Rutter mid-race. And then the wet weather came and they've stayed on the slick tyres. And it is going to be Twombly Hill who's going to pick up his first win of the season in the Clio Cup. So a good race for Twombly Hill, with G finishing P2. John Boy's going to come home to take P3. Nathan Rutter just couldn't hang on them slick tyres. Andy and Shoulders have time penalties, and Gary not closed up as much as I thought he might have done. Nathan Rutter, the minute the track started to get wet, just couldn't keep up with the leaders and managed to lose out to John Boy, so he's going to take P4. Andy's going to come home and get P5. He's 2.8 ahead of Shoulders. Shoulders with a time penalty as well as Andy. So Andy, I reckon, should keep P5. He does so. Shoulders crosses the line now and takes 6th. Gary's going to cross the line and just miss out by a couple of seconds to Shoulders for P7. Fury looks like he made a mistake on the exit to the last corner. He's going to cross the line for P8. Flash of the lights from him. Nick as well wide at the last corner, and is that Little Leach who can pass Nick? Little Leach with a penalty, so I don't think it'd matter too much anyway. But Nick will take 9th. Little Leach will cross the line 10th. Emo guy looks like he's going to get 11th. DJ Phil was running in last most of this race. He's going to manage to take P12 here, so a good finish for Phil. Clearly going onto the wet tyres earlier than Smoky Devil helped, and we know Smoky Devil crosses line really slow. We know Mel lap down, had to pit again, but Smoky Devil crosses line just to take P13. So good first race that. Twombly Hill breaking the Only G's streak of wins and really brings to an end a fantastic run from him. To do him some good as well, considering his first race in the championship tonight, so to do him some good, that will. Fastest lap goes to G. John Boy's first race in the championship as well. Nathan Rutter, who sits 3rd, with Motoring Morgan not here. Nathan Rutter should gain quite a few points on him getting P4 there. And Andy finishing 5th. He's not managed to get a racing in the Clios neither, so that was his first race in the Clios there as well. So I think we're going to take a short break as we're going to get ready for the feature race here at Laguna Seca. Welcome back then. Welcome back. As we have, you've not seen about a minute of qualifying, so welcome back to the feature race here. The qualifying just 10 minutes long. The mandatory pit stop race here, so we know people pitted in the first race when you didn't have to. Mandatory pit stops, I would just tell people that you can pit from lap 6 onwards. That's when the pit window opens in the race, but right now it's all about qualifying. Now, if I'm led to believe the top 5 finishers from the first race cannot qualify, so we know it was Twomborough Hill who took the race, the only G who finished in P2, with John Boy who got 3rd, with Nathan Rutter 4th and Andy 5th, Fury 6th. So we'll see if Fury comes out or not. Is everybody now starting to do the first timed lap, or some people doing their out lap or coming to the end of their out lap, some just starting the first timed lap? So let's see who can take the pole and how quickly the guys from the back can come through to the front. See Nick the Villa here, currently a bit of damage on the front of that car, lost a headlight already. So not the start to qualifying he'd have wanted. Nonetheless, he can finish it in a nice way. Hopefully try and get himself up the grid a bit in qualifying in this one. More towards the sharp end of the grid. He's going to come around now to post his first time, or is that that's Melted Dazzler, who looks like he could post a time first. He has, and he's gone up to P1 at the moment, with Nick the Villa 4/10 off of his time then. Smoky Devil's just coming out the pit. Says DJ Phil. Who's he behind? Is that Little Leach? Or is that Gary? That's Gary's about to finish his lap time here then. Crossing the line now. Currently goes P2, just 2/10 off the leader. DJ Phil, he's crossed the line and gone up into 4th. What about Little Leach? He's coming up towards the corkscrew. Fury's just coming out the pits. Smoky Devil, we know, is out the pits just as well. Shoulders it was who's gone up into P3, 4/10 off the leader. So currently the top 4 separated by 4/10 of a second, 6 seconds back to DJ Phil. Clearly not happy with that time. He finds himself in the pits. Little Leach is coming to the end of his lap. So let's see what Little Leach can do here. The tier 2 man has a win to his name in tier 2 and currently goes pole by 1/10 of a second here. So good little lap from him. Fury struggling. Emo guy, he's on a lap now. Smoky Devil, he's also on a lap. He's coming around to start his lap time. I do believe that is his out lap. A Melted Dragon though, he's coming around the final corner. Did he improve after his first lap? In the dark here, it takes a little longer to warm the tyres up. Does he improve this time for the Melted Dazzler? He does indeed, 8/10 of a second quicker, so finds himself on provisional pole by 6/10. Nick the Villa to finish his second lap. No improvement from him. Melted Daza, the only one in the 137, so 36 so far. Gary's just gone back up to second, 4/10 off the lead with a 137.1. DJ Phil's just come back out the pits. Smoky Devil's 13 seconds off the pace. What's Shoulders going to do? Shoulders about to cross the line now. No improvement from him, so what can Little Leach do? He's all sideways, all out of shape there. Not the cleanest of ways around the second to last corner. All out of shape. Not what he'll be wanting at all. He crosses the line and still sits 6/10 off of Melted Daz's lap time. So for Fury and Emo Guy need to get a lap time set. Smoky Devil looks like he needs to improve a bit more as well. Melted Dazza, can he improve again to bump his current lead of 4/10 from Gary 131? No improvement that time around. What can Gary do? Any improvement from Smoky Devil first? Yep, was 9 seconds quicker and finds himself now in front of DJ Phil, who's on his lap now. Where's Fury and Emo Guy coming through the corkscrew? Are both of them two, with what looks to be Shoulders just behind them. Yeah, it is. Here comes Gary then. He's about to cross the line now. He's got Nick the Villa just behind him. Gary improves and goes pole at the minute provisionally. Nick doesn't improve at all, so no improvement from Nick there then. Little Leach coming up towards the corkscrew, so let's have a look at Fury. Can he get a good lap time in and get it on the front row of the grid? No, his lap time's invalid as he runs too far wide at the end of the corner. What about Emo Guy? Crosses the line now and puts himself up to P7. Shoulders has gone provisional pole by a 10th. Smoky Devil finds himself in the pits at the moment. That might not where he needs to be. He needs to be out 1:50 out on track to get it a good outlap in. DJ Phil's just coming through the corkscrew. Behind him is Melted Dazza. So we shall see what lap times these two can bring to us. DJ Phil looking to improve and try and gain on the back of Emo Guy here. Melted Dazza just trying to get his pole back. He has dropped down into P3. So DJ Phil crosses the line and he does improve, but it's not enough to move him up a place. Melted Dazza has just gone pole provisionally by 2/10 of a second and has put it in the pit, so he won't get another lap time in. Gary 131, clear track in front of him. What can he do from here? As he comes around the final corner, he's got enough time to get one lap in. Can he put it on provisional pole? Needs to find half a second from somewhere. Doesn't do it this lap, so he's got one more chance to try and find half a second. What about Shoulders? He's just come around the left-hander after the corkscrew. Who we got in front of him? I think just Fury in front of him, is it? Yep, just Fury in front of him. Manages to keep off the AstroTurf this time round on the exit to the corner and sets a lap time. Now, current and next must have been invalid, so doesn't set a lap time. Does Shoulders improve? No, nothing from Shoulders. Fury's got to get a lap time in, otherwise he's going to be starting in between the guys. John Boy and Nathan Rutter, who finished 3rd and 4th, and ahead of just ahead of Twombly Hill, Andy and the only G. So Melted Dazza in the pits. Little Leach can't improve there. So qualifying's done. So who's this about to finish their lap? He's going to be DJ Phil, so he is going to finish his lap time. Can he find 1.5 seconds? Shoulders has gone in the pits as well. So if Gary's up, Gary could find himself on the front row of the grid. Needs 2/10 for that. Needs 4/10 or 4.5 tenths to get on the front onto the pole position. No a slight improvement from DJ Phil actually. Here comes Gary then. What can he do from here? got to try and find that couple of tenths to get on the front row. Half a second to get it onto pole position. Is he going to have done enough here as he rounds the final corner and down the start straight? He crosses the line now. And it's up, but it's not enough to move him up anywhere on the standings. He stays third, 3 tenths off of pole position at the minute. So Melted Dazzle looks like he's got pole, but he's still got Fury on a lap time. Not set one yet. Little Leach is also still on a lap time as well. So let's see what these two can do. As Fury crosses the line and manages to only go P6. Little Leach, the last one to set a lap time. Currently starting on the second row with Gary 131. Both these drivers from Tier 2. So to start on the second row is they're no slouch, put it that way. To start on the second row is a good achievement for these two. Can Little Leach get on the front row? You'll find out in just a second. No, he can't. It was an improvement, but not good enough. So it's Melted Dazzle who takes pole, 2 tenths head of shoulders, with Gary 131 third. Little Leach in fourth. Nick the Villa fifth. Fury managed to get a lap in, left it late, but starts sixth with Smoky Devil seventh. Emo Guy starts in 8th with DJ Phil 9th. Nathan Rutter starts 10th for John Boy 11th. Twombly Hill 12th. Andy 13th, and the only G starts from the back row of the grid. So for these guys, they're going to want to try and keep up the pace. Try and keep ahead of the quicker guys at the back early on. Don't forget the pit window opens at lap 6. You can't pit until lap 6 or later. So strategy comes into it in this 18 lap race. What can all these guys do? Just waiting for them to ready up. So I will just wait. So everybody looks like they're ready here for this 18 lap race. Let's see what can happen. The revs rise. We await the lights, they're here now. And it's lights out and away we go here. And it's a decent start for Melted Dazzle. Gary 131 looks like he's got a good start and already has the run on shoulders as they head down towards turn 1. Watch from the back as the quicker guys come through. DJ Phil looks like he's had a dreadful start as he's already down to the back of the grid. And Gary up the inside of shoulders at the minute. Little Leach is going to try and follow him through. But Gary's got the job done. I think Little Leach is a bit too far back here. So a good start from Melted Dazzle. He's got off the line well and is already away. Gary's got himself up into second with shoulders third. Little Leach currently sits fourth. Although Fury is side by side with him and will have the inside line. Little Leach trying to hold it there. Who's that wide? That's Nick the Villa. Very wide on the exit to turn 3 or 4. Fury though has passed Little Leach and defends well. Into the left-hander as uphill we go. So Little Leach drops down to 5th. Nathan Rutter sits 6th. He's come from towards the back of the grid. John Boy 7th. He's also from the back of the grid, but battling side by side with Emo Guy as Emo Guy up the inside for P7. And John Boy's got Twombly Hill, the winner of the last race, all over the back of him. And Twombly Hill, in fact, side by side now as they head up towards the corkscrew. Here they come, and Twombly Hill slides it in front of John Boy. Great move there from Twombly Hill. Has to get it on the brakes a bit more though, as there is Emo Guy. Got to get a move on because G's catching. So John Boy down to P9, G up to 10th, Nick the Villa down to 11th. We've seen him wide. Andy's 12th, not the best of first laps for him. He's not really got going. Nick the Villa has a time penalty. DJ Phil down to 13th. Is Smoky Devil currently last. Out front, we're not sure what's happened, but Mtcc has lost the lead and Gary's taking it, and now Mtcc is defending from Shoulders. So what can Shoulders do? Where does he look to make the move? He's trying to shove it up the inside. He's going to squeeze Dazza, and Dazza keeps him there. Oh, this is going on. They've got Fury just behind him, and then Nathan Rutter just behind him as well. Good little battle for second. This has allowed Gary a second up the road. Twomborough Hill now on the back of Little Each. We see here, just in front of the queue of cars behind Mtcc. He's closed up to the back of Gary, so Gary must have made a mistake somewhere, and now it's 3 for the lead again. As who's that slow? That looks like Fury slow there, and Little Each looks in it like he's in a bit of a three-way battle here. There was 3 abreast a minute ago. They've all tucked in and sorted themselves out. Mtcc trying to put the pressure on Gary as well as defend from Shoulders. In fact, he's got the corkscrew all wrong there. His Shoulders looks like he's got a run on him, but where can Shoulders get it done? Round the outside of Mtcc, and that's P2, but runs wide on exits. That could be a slowdown penalty there for Shoulders, if not a time penalty if he doesn't take it. Fury still sits 4th. Little Each, he's picked himself up a time penalty. Trying to attack Fury, and up the inside he goes. A Fury into the final corner, and a good little move that is, with Twomborough Hill side by side now with Fury. Followed Little Each through. Side by side, Twomborough Hill goes. The only G still sits down in 8th place. Should get the move done. Nathan Rutter's looking to follow Twomborough Hill up the inside, and G may want to follow Nathan. Good little battle here in race 2. Fury still on the back of Twomborough Hill, as he did follow Fury through. Fury defending now then from the only G, who's got John Boy up the rear of him. And look at G, so much quicker through the corner there than Fury, and look at the speed he's got. He's already set himself up for the next corner, and he's going to go up the inside around the left-hander as they head uphill. And John Boy looks like he's going to try and follow him as well. In fact, John Boy's touched him, and round goes Fury. Here comes Andy to claim not 1 but 2 places. Been a bit fortunate there as Andy, as he was well behind, but John Boy and Fury come together. DJ Phil sits 11th. I don't know what's happened to Emo Guy who was running up there a moment ago. Now a Smoky Devil on the back of him, but up front Gary leads by 1.5 seconds to Shoulders, who's got Mtcc 3rd, with Little Each trying to close him down in 4th, with Twomborough Hill all over the back of Little Each and looking to set him up. Little Each sideways through that corner there, with Twomborough all over the back of him and really wanting to make a move, with G getting up now to P7. Crucial for the championship. Who's out in the pit? Shoulders is in the pits. You've got to pit after lap 6. That's what the rules say. So I'm not sure why he's in the pits now. He may have to pit again a little later. But as far as I'm aware, you're supposed to be pitting after lap 6. So I reckon he'll have to pit again there. Little Each up to 3rd now then. And Twomborough Hill in a good battle for 4th with Nathan Rutter and the only G. These 3 had a good battle in the sprint race earlier before it started raining and Nathan dropped off the back. Nathan looking up the inside of Twomborough Hill, and only G around the outside. What a move that is! Finally the camera's picked up G. What a move that is from the only G. Round the outside of both of them, and has already created a bit of breathing space between himself and them two. Fantastic move. But Twomborough Hill fighting back on the exit of the corkscrew here, and looks like he's got it up the inside and does so. G must have a slowdown penalty, as also through is Nathan Rutter. DJ Phil's been passed by Smoky Devil and Emo Guy. G gets the run on Nathan up the inside out the last corner. Looking is G. Going to keep it there and get the move done before turn 1. Is Nathan looking to try and get a cut back on the exit to turn 1? I don't think he's going to there. Twombly Hill then out front to these 3. It's Gary who leads the race by 2 seconds. These 3 all trying to catch Little Each, who's gaining on the back of Melted Desert. So good little battle. Look at G on the back of Twombly Hill. Really gaining on him. Lap 5 of 18. Does he think about the switchback? Camera not picking them up. It has glitched to John Boy there. Camera picks them up now and they're side by side. The camera was trying to pick up John Boy even though we hadn't changed cameras, so not sure what that was all about. Bit of a glitch there maybe. Twombly Hill's quick through the corkscrew here. Really gains on the back of Little Each, you see there. There's a gap out front's coming down as Gary made a little mistake. Back to Little Each and where the battle is. Good little scrap. 4 places. Nathan Rutter on the exit to the corner there. Bit sideways coming out of it. But G looks to try and get Twombly Hill. Twombly Hill looking to try and get Little Each. All happening as we head down towards Tier 1. Twombly Hill not only does defend from the only G, but also attacks Little Each and plenty of room. And G looks to try and follow Twombly Hill through. So they look like they've gained a position for 3rd and 4th. Little Each keeping it there though with the only G. He's not managed to get past Little Each completely. And Little Each holds his own and keeps it there. Twombly Hill has picked himself up a little time penalty somewhere. And we see G. Yes, every time the cameras get into this corner here where John Boy got spun, it's trying to pan to him. We see G getting past Little Each and up towards the left hand bend before the corkscrew. We see Nathan Rutter now on the back of Little Each as well. Into the corkscrew. Look at this as we see him all over the back of Little Each. Where does he think about making a move? See up front you got Twombly Hill and the only G. And look at the speed Nathan's got compared to Little Each through here. And he sets him up a peach. And round the second to last corner has got past Little Each. Nice and easy. There's Nathan tucking back in. So good overtaking manoeuvre that by Nathan Rutter. Only G looking around the outside of Twombly Hill as Melted Daz has picked himself up a time penalty. Smoky Devil and Nick the Villas picked themselves up time penalties as well. We're on lap 7. Again, Andy and Fury, they're pitting a lap early. Oh no, it's lap 6, sorry, was the pit window, I do believe. So they've pitted right on the 6th lap. So yeah, pit from lap 6 onwards. So then guys have pitted. Fury and Smoky Devil as well pit. As the camera picks up John Boy and then changes back to Melted Daz there, and none of that was through me. But Twombly still ahead of G with Nathan Rutter on the back. Little Each trying to keep up with these 4 cars in front. Little Each as well not wanting to get in the way due to the fact that he is only a tier 2 race when he's not want to mess up the tier 1 championship. Twombly Hill trying to get P2, chase him down. When do the guys pit? Well, Gary's not pitting. Melted Daz is deciding to pull the trigger now. Twombly Hill and G don't, neither does Nathan. Little Each doesn't. So Twombly up into second, ahead of the only G. Where does G think about making the move? There it looks of it, and a bit of a tap as Twombly Hill tries to shut the door on him. He's seen him coming, and he tried to shut the door. Thought about it there as I said it. Mtcc still in the pits. Emo guy's now coming as well. Nick the Villa, I think, has pitted. I know Andy has, and he currently sits P8 now then. But back out front, Twombly Hill being put under immense pressure as the camera changes again. Twombly Hill then side by side with the only G. Missing out on a bit of action here. It's glitched out since that's where John Boy and Fury had the bit of a tap, and now it's glitching out ever since then. Twombly Hill good through there, and look at that, Nathan Rutter on the back of these two as well. These two had a great battle in race 1, and they look like they're continuing it in the dry here in race 2. We're on lap 8 of 18. Around the final corner to start their 9th lap as Gary's crossed the line, start his. Gary's just in front of this pack by 3.2 seconds. They continue to hold each other up while battling. They could use each other here to try and get out and gain on Gary, but Twombly Hill runs deep, and the only G looks like he's going to go up the inside. Twombly Hill keeping it there side by side with him. Then we'll have the inside corner at turn 2. But still side by side. G not letting this one go and gets the place around the outside. And Twombly Hill has to tuck in between him and Nathan Rutter then. G now up into P2. But Twombly Hill looks like he's going to try and pull out as the camera loses it again. It's definitely glitched out. Problem with this game there. Look, it's picking up John Boy on its own, and then it'll change back now. And Twombly Hill didn't get past G, but we know he's quick through the corkscrew, so can he set him up here? Mtcc is in the pit, so he's had to pit again, not sure why. No rain with the looks of things so far in this race. Look at Twombly Hill really closing and nearly tapped the back of G there into the corkscrew. There you go, nearly tapped the rear. That would have been a disaster if them two had gone round. These guys battling to try and catch up with Gary 131, who looks like, I think that looked like he was coming into the pits. Twombly Hill is. No, Gary stayed out, but Twombly Hill's coming into the pits. Nathan Rutter doesn't. Little Leach does. So then Nathan Rutter, a second behind G, has the chance now as they've just lapped the Mtcc. Was running P2 in this race, don't forget, early on. Now sits down in P14 with a time penalty as well, so not the race he'd have wanted. Unfortunately for him, but Nathan Rutter trying to gain on the back of the only G to keep that battle going between them two. John Boy in the pits, we see. Andy now running P6. Not really spoke about much of the guys down the back of the grid as there's been that much action up front. Andy running P6 though at the moment, so good for him. Gaining on the back of Twombly Hill, who's just come out of the pit lane. Don't forget, he's just done his pit stop. Smoky Devil catching up to the back of Emo Guy. In fact, he's right on the back of him here. Not close enough to make a move though at the moment. Gap to the lead's come down. I don't know if that's Gary making a mistake or just how quick G is in clean air. But the gap down to just over a second, and I think Gary now pulls the trigger to pit. So Gary pitting from the lead. We'll see where he can come back out. Only G and Nathan Rutter haven't pitted yet. What about Shoulders? Is Gary going to come out ahead of Twombly Hill here? That'll be the big question. Well, he's missed his pit box completely there is Gary. We just jumped on him as he misses his pit box. So I reckon now that Twombly Hill will have Gary. Shoulders didn't pit neither. And I think Andy may have Gary as well. Gary's coming out the pit lane now, but these guys will already be up to speed as Gary exits the pits and tries to get up to speed now. Shoulders, Twombly Hill and Andy all come round. Gary's lost out to Shoulders. There's Twombly Hill. He's a lot closer. Gary comes out the pits then, pretty much near enough side by side with Shoulders, but just in front of Twombly Hill. So because he missed his pit box, that's cost him time, which could pay dividends for the Only G and Nathan Rutter here. Now they've got some clean air and get some clean laps in to potentially come out ahead of Twombly Hill and Gary. G then into the corkscrew, lap 11 of 18. When do the front three pit? Well, G's not coming in now, so he's trying to create that gap a bit more, I reckon, while he's out front. Nathan Rutter, he decides to pull the trigger and come into the pits. Gary then all over the back of Shoulders. But it looks like he's got a slowdown and is yielded to Twombly Hill. So Gary's race going from bad to worse here, misses the pit box and then gets a slowdown penalty. Right, he was catching Shoulders now then. Nathan Rutter is away from his pit box here. Cruising down the pit lane. Shoulders dives into the pits. So Gary and Andy gain a position there. And they've all passed Nathan Rutter. And they've done him quite easily actually. So Shoulders didn't hold up Twombly Hill, Gary much at all. And Andy really coming up from the back of the grid. Didn't really see much of him before his pit stop, but he's really now up there racing for the lead. The Only G then. Here he is. Coming round up the hill towards the corkscrew. Is this the lap he pits? He's got a 19-second gap to Twombly Hill. Is he content with that gap with Gary and Andy right on Twombly's tail? Is he content with 20 seconds the gap is now? Can he pit there and get out before them, or will he be coming into a scrap with him? Nathan Rutter's really lost out here and he's down in P5. A couple of seconds off the back of Twombly Hill, Gary and Andy. G pits. So G's pitting from the lead. So now then, Twombly Hill good through the corkscrew, but Gary all over the back of him, really challenging him here is the tier 2 driver. Andy's just dropped off the back of these two slightly. So where is G? He's in the pits now. That's Melted Dragon unlapping himself. And away goes the Only G. Where's Twombly and Gary? They're just coming up towards the final corner. So G's got the whole of the pit lane to go at the minute before he can get up to speed. Where is Twombly and Gary? They're around the final corner now. They're coming down the start straight. This is going to be tight. You hear their engines coming. There's the lights. The screen getting brighter. Twombly and Gary both pass the Only G. Andy might. Don't think he's done enough. I think G's got him here. See how quick they can get around the first corner. But Gary and Twombly then for the lead at the moment. Andy back on the power, G on the power, and Andy tucks in behind G. So G comes out P3, but has Andy on his tail and Gary on the back of Twombly then. So G's pit stop was 2 seconds he needed. Just 2 more seconds would have done it. So G's got work to do. He's got to defend from Andy as well as gain on the front guys. Can he push hard? We see him push hard all the time. Can he push hard here on lap 13 of 15? What's happening a bit further down? Shoulders is being caught by Nick de Villa and Little Leach. Little Leach down to P9, was running so well early on, but after his pit stop not doing it as well. As it goes back to John Boy there, just in front of that little battle. Camera will switch back to Little Leach in just a second. There we go. Not sure why it does that. It's a real big glitch on the game. Twombly Hill has been overtaken by Gary then, and now is within 4/10 of him. Gary really trying to put the hammer down here. Andy has been dropped by the Only G, and G trying to get on the back of this little duo at the front to make it a trio. Twombly looking to go around the outside of Gary. Gary's too clever to give his inside line away like that. And while all this is being attacking and defending from these two, this is allowing G onto the back of him. As Twombly looks again at Gary but can't get it done, and now has to start thinking of defending from G, who's closer to him than he is to Gary. And G could look to make a move. These two have battled in both races so far all night. Fantastic battles from these two. And G looking, and Twombly goes defensive as the camera goes to John Boy. Quite annoying now because we're missing this epic battle between Twombly Hill and Gary. In fact, Gary, according to the timing screens, has been overtaken by Twombly Hill, so must have made a mistake. G's going to follow through into second place. So Gary has lost the race lead here to Twombly Hill. We didn't see it because the camera's glitching out. We did not see it. Twombly, we know he's strong through the corkscrew, but so look is Gary compared to G. And Andy's on the back of these two as well. Gary proving he could be a tier 1 racer here instead of tier 2. He's proving he's quick enough. And look at G here. Is that Andy who's about to make a move on Gary? But right now we're more focused on the race lead. Lap 14 of 18 we're on. We're coming around to start the 15th lap. And G makes a cutback look well, and he's up the inside of Twombly already as they head down towards turn 1. Front wheel to rear wheel here. In the background, Andy and Gary are side by side, but Gary has it on the inside line, and the only G has passed Twombly into the lead. Maybe looking for the cutback, but the only G gets it stopped on the apex, and Twombly can't come back at him there then. So a change of the lead again. G has passed Twombly Hill, and now can Twombly come back at him? Nathan Rotter on the back of Andy as well. Andy on the back of Gary. Really good racing from these 5 here tonight. As the camera pans to John Boy, so let's just take a little look down to Little Leach. He's still on the back of Nick the Villa, and Smoky Devil gaining on the back of Fury. We've lost Emo Guy from the race. Melted Dazza is last, with DJ Phil currently running 10th. Shoulders up in P7. John Boy is running 6th. Camera keeps panning to him, so there he is. But up front, G 6/10 ahead of Twombly, who's got a good gap to Gary, just over a second to Gary, with Andy on the back of him and Nathan Rotter on the back of him. All this for the lead for a podium spot. Lap 15 of 18. We're coming to the end of the lap. Start the 16th lap here, and look at Andy really trying to battle with Gary here. Put Gary under some pressure. Can he use the slipstream down the straight to make a move? And Andy looks to the inside. Gary, I don't think will fight him too hard, as Gary's not scoring points. He'll want the win though. He'll want a tier 1 win for a tier 2 driver surely, but Andy makes the move, done well. Now Nathan Rotter on the back. Gary has held his own here. He's raced hard here. Gap up front is down to half a second, and Nathan Rotter was browned in the background. Oh, it's gone wrong for him. Could have tried to keep the pressure on Andy for a podium, and we've seen him lose it just ever so slightly as I was on about the leaders. Round he went. How unfortunate that is. The gap then between the leaders, when the camera picks them up, 7/10 of a second. And Andy's only just over a second behind Twombly. Can the only G make it 5 wins out of 6 here? As they head down then towards the final couple of corners to start the 17th lap. The only G now a second out in front from Twombly Hill. Really has his head down now. He's up front. It's a 2 lap. We're about to start. 2 laps to go. What can Twombly and Andy do about it? Gary now running a comfortable P4. We see Smoky Devil, the exclamation mark next to the names, meaning that they're within a second of the driver in front. So Smoky Devil has no lights on his car and is gaining on the back of Fury. Shoulders trying to gain on the back of John Boy as well. Gary must have made a mistake as he's dropped off the back of Andy there then. So unfortunate for Gary. But there's Fury. Smoky Devil looks like he's going to make a move on Fury as they head up towards the corkscrew. Forgot what it was called then for a second. Smoky Devil passes Fury with ease. So maybe a slowdown penalty then for Fury as he's even slower there still. We pick Andy up after it. Oh no, it's picked John Boy up. We've gone to look at Andy. It's picked John Boy up. There's Andy. Just over a second behind Twombly Hill, who's just over a second behind the Only G. So the top three may be sorted as these come up to the corkscrew now. They're about to lap some back markers as well, who's just a couple of corners in front of G. And there's Andy. Twombly, did he have a slowdown penalty? Is Andy really gained on him through the left-hander, and he's round the outside at the right-hander now on the inside for the last corner. Dives one up the inside. Twombly has a time penalty anyway. Does Andy? Yes, Andy does. But Andy now side by side with him as Gary must have made another mistake. He's really dropped off the back and Nathan Rutter is on the back of him. But this is the battle for second. Both these guys have a time penalty and Andy has the inside line and has Twombly Hill just through away second place. G's well out in front as we are on the last lap here. And Andy still doesn't have the move done yet. Twombly isn't giving this up without a fight. Andy now has it done. Nick in the pits on the final lap of the race. Strange pit stop there from Nick then. That's really late here. I don't think that's going to allow Smoky Devil past. I think he's way far in front for that. Nathan Rutter on the back of Gary, you see. Shoulders trying to cane on the back of John Boy, who the cameraman keeps trying to pick up through this next section, but back up to the leaders as they're coming through the corkscrew. We know how quick Twombly Hill is round here, but I think Andy is far enough in front, barring it making a mistake, to have done Twombly Hill. But it's this man, the Only G, many's favourite for the title at the moment. 4 out of 4 before tonight. He didn't win race 5, but he's won race 6. Flash of the lights and a wee from him. The battle for second place goes to Andy, with Twombly Hill coming in a good third. 2 podiums for him tonight. He'll be happy with that. Tier 2, Gary's going to take a 4th ahead of Nathan Rutter with time penalties. John Boy and Shoulders battling till the end. John Boy looks like he's going to have the inside line on Shoulders here, but Shoulders tries to keep it on the outside and runs too far wide. So John Boy will cross the line in 6th, with Shoulders coming home in 7th. Tier 2, Little Leach is going to take a P8, with Nick the Villa with a very late pit stop on this lap on the exit of the corkscrew. We've lost another driver. Not sure who we've lost. Lost Emo Guy early on, I know that, but we've lost someone else as well. Nick's round in the final corner now. To take P9. Fury's coming up towards the last corner as well to take a P10. With Melted Dazzler and DJ Phil Green already been lapped. Flash of the lights from Fury. He'll be happy with that. So a good win from the Only G, with Andy 2nd, Twombly Hill in 3rd, Nathan Rutter Gary finishing 4th, with Nathan Rutter 5th, John Boy 6th, Shoulders in 7th, Little Leach 8th, Nick the Villa 9th, Fury 10th, Melted Dazzler 11th, DJ Phil Green 12th, Smoky Devil retired on lap 16, and Emo Guy retired on lap 10. But from all of us here at Motive Racing, we hope you have enjoyed both tiers of racing tonight. It's been cracking battles throughout in tier 1 and 2, and we'll see you next time. Good night.